This is a picture I took a year ago on Armenia's 24th Independence Day. Views from Yerevan don't get much more majestic than this, with Mount Ararat hovering over a glowing sunset behind Yerevan. And the next picture I'm going to show you was taken from the exact same location, but this is the view when you look down. And this is how I learned that trash is much more than an environmental issue. I could only learn a lesson like this by living in a place like Armenia, where trash is not always out of sight, compared to my American suburban upbringings. So for me, it could not be out of mind. Armenia's issues with trash in the 21st century are not small. It's an infrastructural issue, where there's no single sanitary landfill that covers the trash from nearby communities. And that's in turn a health issue, because that puts those local communities at risk. And that is also a political issue, because that requires some kind of legislation passed on an official state level, ensuring that measures get put into place to prevent. But for me, trash has been an aesthetic issue since living here. The way that it looks, the way that I see it all the time. So this is a picture of the weekend shuka that takes place by my house in Baregamotun. And I love this scene. It's vibrant, it's bustling. The villagers come from Armenia's regions to every weekend to sell their fresh, mouth-watering fruits and vegetables, and having access to these markets is one of my favorite parts about living in Armenia. And so that's why it's hard for me to understand that a scene this beautiful can go hand in hand with a scene like this. This shot was taken right after the farmer's market closes up and all the villagers pack up their produce and vegetables and head home for the day. So this is what I call a Toprak graveyard. Toprak means bag in Armenian. And this is a tragically common scene here. But it's especially common after these markets, because plastic bags are distributed most frequently when people go grocery shopping or purchase food. And so this, for me, was the incongruence of these images that I'm showing you compelled me to action, because this small segment of Armenia's issues with trash is especially avoidable. All it takes is a little bit of inconvenience, remembering to bring a bag with you whenever you go grocery shopping, and it would have such huge benefits. You don't need to be an environmental specialist. You don't need to be a member of parliament enforcing legislation. We can all do this. We can all put this small inconvenience on ourselves for a greater good. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start bringing these bags with me. And I wanted to try to encourage other people to do the same. So I decided I was going to highlight the absurdity of plastic bags distribution in Armenia through a video, which I'm going to show you right now.
Toprak Petq Chi.
Okay, so this video uses these words, Toprak Petq Chi. These are the words that I use very often because I am rejecting plastic bags all the time. It means, in English, the bag is not necessary. But unlike this video, Some people may have a very different experience when they reject a plastic bag in Armenia's grocery stores or shukas. It's sometimes the case that you will get into a verbal altercation with the cashier or the vendor because there's some crime against rejecting plastic bags here. It's socially stigmatized. I don't know. I didn't understand why. It's almost like it's low class to accept your grocery items without first wrapping them in plastic. And so this was so strange for me. I knew that if I ever wanted to fight this issue in Armenia, I had to understand why. What is causing this? So I did a little bit of digging, and it revealed a much larger backstory to this problem in Armenia. One that deals very specifically with Armenia's transition from communism to a free market. This was, for me, something that I could only have learned by living here first, speaking with people who live here, understanding and respecting the very recent history. And so I'm going to share that story with you today because it's critical to everything that I've done. It transformed how I understood this problem in Armenia, and it transformed how I decided to find a solution. So, once upon a time, 25, 30 years ago, Armenians relied solely on reusable bags to transport their groceries. And this image might look familiar to some of you who were around during that time. And these bags were called setka in Russian, and they were engineered so efficiently that you could roll them into a tiny little ball and put it in your pocket and have it on you at all times. But why would you need them on you at all times? Well, they were so ubiquitous in the Soviet Union across all different countries, they even had a nickname. That's how culturally significant they were. That nickname was avoska, and that means the what-if bag. And because Soviet supermarkets were not exactly known for their abundance at that time. In fact, my mom, who grew up here in Soviet time, used to tell me that whenever you saw a line standing outside of a supermarket in Armenia, you didn't wait around to find out what people were waiting for. You just got in line because whatever it was probably good, and you never knew when it was going to be around next. So you could not leave your bag at home because otherwise you might miss out on these what-if moments. So you can imagine how this idea of reusable bags, this idea of having your bag on you, it became a constant reminder of the idea of scarcity. And conversely, what are plastic bags but a symbol of abundance? You can take as many of them as you want. You can fill them as far as they can be filled. And they accompanied Armenia's transition into a consumer-oriented free market. And so in a lot of ways, they came to represent these previously withheld conveniences. And maybe it's fair to almost suggest that people feel maybe a right to some of these conveniences. So, armed with this new knowledge about the situation, I thought, okay, now I want to try to create some kind of alternative, some kind of solution that's going to take all of those, factor all of those into the equation. So I wanted to create an alternative. I wanted people to wear it, this reusable bags, but more importantly, I wanted them to want to wear this alternative. And that's a much more difficult task. You have to give people choice. People shouldn't feel forced to wear it, like they don't have any other options. People should feel like they have some say in what this alternative is like. So what if I gave people the opportunity to create their own alternative? So I applied for a grant and I won $1,000, and I spent that money nearly entirely on blank canvas bags and spray paint. But that's a lot to ask of people. You're giving them way too much choice. It's a blank canvas. I wanted people to have access. I wanted people to have great designs on their bags, obviously because I wanted them to use it, but not everybody is a designer or an artist. So how can I remove that barrier? So I reached out to the local design community and I asked them, can you help me make these bags awesome? And I asked people to submit stencils. So I didn't eliminate this element of personal engagement where people are creating their own bags, but I was eliminating this barrier between people and great design. So people, as you can see, submitted all kinds of themes, not just related to the environment, which I think is something that perhaps may have been missing in Armenia's environmental sector. So we have, what impresses me most is that we have themes that are related so closely to Armenia's local culture. You can see there are images up here that you may never be able to understand unless you have spent some time here, learned the language, or are Armenian ethnically. And so that, I thought, was really great. People could imbue their alternative with personality, with something that felt personal and represented not just this global fight against plastic bags, but Armenia's fight against plastic bags. So logistically how this works is we take every designer's stencil and we cut it out by hand to turn it into an actual stencil with a hashtag that has the name of our project, Toprak Petq Chi. And then we let people do the rest. We pop up in different places in Armenia, and we let people choose the colors, we let people choose the design, and we let them create their alternative. And the point of this project is not to police people into wearing cloth bags. The point is not to hound them down and ensure that they wear it. It's more like we are giving strength to an idea. Because once you turn on that light switch in your head, that you start to see, you start to be aware of the plastic bags, the situation in Armenia will do the rest, because they're everywhere. And sometimes we have it's so rewarding that people will upload their pictures of themselves using it on social media, which is really great for us to see that in use. And so I just want to highlight that for me, the cool part about this project is not that we found some, colorful, quirky way to promote cloth bags. What's the heart of this problem, of this project for me, is that we've given credence to the local history that happened here. We recognized and found value in a recent struggle in Armenia. And I think that this is something that whatever sector you're working in, whether it's politics, whether it's environment, health, this is something that we could start to implement more frequently, because plastic bag pollution is a problem not just in Armenia, all over the world. And the Western world is already finding all kinds of solutions to fight it. But it doesn't mean that those solutions are right for Armenia. So that's why we've given this project a name that we think people can relate to, which is Toprak Petq Chi. And these are the words that we should use firmly and adamantly every single time we go grocery shopping until the day that we don't have to anymore.